Hey, Egg Teacher Thoughts here, coming at you with another video. We're continuing on, I believe this is video 5, maybe 6? I don't know. We've done several videos on our small greenhouse that you at home can also build. Now, I will admit, early on, my ideal budget had been $200 for this structure. I think we're past that. Materials a little bit more expensive, things I needed, yeah, a little bit more than I had planned. But again, we are kind of going fancy with this structure. We're adding some things in that you might not normally see. So what we're going to be working on today is we're going to be putting on some corrugated plastic. We're going to put that on, which means we need supports in all 4 corners in order to handle that. We've also got some caps that we'll put on top of that corrugated plastic, and then we're going to try to get the roof on at the same time. If we have time, we will also get to the benches, but we'll kind of do these one video at a time so that it's not a really long video. We'll kind of break that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get you repositioned over by one of the corners, kind of show you how I'm going to put those on and how they're connected and kind of the whys and the hows of that. Going to use a little bit fancier tools to do that, but I think will be just fine, and it's something that you can do a little bit of a workaround to do yourself at home. All right, let's get you set up and take a look at what's going on. So in the corner of the structure, I do need to add some other support, some vertical support, so that we have a location to insert our screws that are going to hold on our corrugated plastic. Now with those, I want to make sure that this outer surface that's going to be right next to where my corrugated plastic is, I want to make sure that that is nice and flush and that there's no air gaps there. The best way to do that is to actually recess any of the fasteners that I'm using. So rather than going and using a mending plate and using some fencing screws to hold that mending plate together, I'm going to actually go ahead and recess those screws and, shoot them in an angle using something called a Kreg jig. Now, what this does is it actually drills angular holes. So we have a drill bit that goes in here, and that comes down and drills what's called a pocket hole. So that's a pocket hole. And that allows us to take a special flathead screw and put it in there so that it goes in at an angle and it comes out near the center of the 2x4, or at least it will travel through the center of the 2x4. This is going to be one of the strongest joints that I could put here in this location, and it's going to be able to recess that screw head so that I don't have any air gaps that form from that corrugated plastic being pushed out by any sort of fastener. So I'm going to head and put a couple of these together. I'll let you watch a couple of them so you can see how it goes, and then I'll do the rest of the structure. So on this jig, we have a special drill that's designed to be specifically used with this. It's called a step drill, so it has 2 different diameters and 2 different locations on the drill bit that actually do the cutting. And with that, it fits into our jig all the way down, and then it stops right before it hits the material, or at least it should be set to stop right before it hits the material. Looks like I need to back it off just a little bit. But we'll go ahead and clamp our board in here. We'll drill those holes, and then it'll make it easier for us to put it together. Also comes with a handy clamp so that your board doesn't move while you're making those pocket holes. So we've got our jig set up. We'll go ahead and back this off a little bit so we can lock it in. That's locked in. We come in with our drill. Go ahead and drill those holes out. We'll go all the way till it reaches the stop collar. And you flip it over, and we'll have all 4 holes done for this support. And there we go. There are our angled pocket holes. So they're right there ready for us to put our fasteners in and attach it so we have a nice flush seamed, or nice flush seamless corner. We use a couple of those special square drive screws. Stick them in our pocket holes. Make sure everything is lined up, and we should be able to drive it home. So there we go. We've got our corner support so that we can put our corrugated plastic on this. This is going to be nice and flush. It did twist just a little bit, but I can come in here and sand that and take care of it. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. But anyway, now I got to do this 3 more times, and then we'll start looking at putting up the plastic. Okay, so we got all of our corner supports in. So all 4 corners have our support material on it. So now it's time for us to go in and add our corrugated plastic sheeting to the outside. So this is the material we're going to use. This is a corrugated plastic. It has vertical ribs and 1/4 inch gaps in there. There's some air spacing in there to make sure that it's providing some insulation in the side of our greenhouse. So you can see these vertical ribs in here, and this is our dead air space. Now when we put that in here, the most important thing that we can do is to actually capture this air in here. So we have a clear plastic cap that's going to go on top of this, that's going to help seal that up to make sure air isn't just simply circulating through and cooling off our sidewalls. This is going to be key in keeping our greenhouse insulated so that we can have it warm in winter. It is also opaque, so it does allow some light transmission to occur. But since we're going to be using this mainly in winter, and the majority of your light actually comes through the roof of your greenhouse and not the sidewalls of your greenhouse, it's not going to be that much of an issue. Again, wintertime growing, we're going to supplement the light with artificial lighting, so I'm not really worried about that. So let's get this all set up and we'll start adding this to our sidewalls. All right, so we're getting ready to add our corrugated plastic to the sidewalls of our greenhouse. What I've done is I've gone ahead and I've put 1 2x4 underneath the side of my greenhouse. Now you could do this ahead of time. This is such a light greenhouse I can just kind of pick it up and move it. So I've got 1 2x4 here to find the bottom edge. I'm putting a second 2x4, and this is going to allow me the spacing at the bottom of my corrugated plastic to make sure that that's up above the moisture of the greenhouse, up above the grass, so that we're not wicking moisture up, and we've got an opportunity for this to not be down in the soil. So this is going to be here. What we're going to do is we're going to put our corrugated plastic on here. We're going to put it up all the way to the upper horizontal sidewall portion. We're going to mark it, and then we're going to cut that. After we're done, we'll add our clear plastic strips to the bottom, and then we'll mount it to the side of the greenhouse. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to come in where we can see the bottom line of our corrugated plastic, and that's going to be the upper reach of where it's going to be. Let's move that all the way down. So we've got that lined all the way along there. We're going to come in and we're going to just draw a nice line just using a regular pencil. It'll actually mark on this. If you have a Sharpie marker, use that. I just couldn't seem to find my Sharpie marker today, so this will work. So we've got a nice line drawn all the way across that. Then what we'll do is we'll lay this down, put a nice straight edge next to it, and we'll cut it with an X-Acto knife, with a nice sharp knife. You can cut it with a circular saw. However, I'm just going to cut these with a knife. I don't have a whole lot of them to do, and it should be fairly quick for me. Okay, so what we're going to add on next is this profile U-channel. With this, it is 96 inches. They sell them at Home Depot. This goes on the top to make sure that that air isn't going through. It's also keeping the moisture from going down into or up into the corrugations. So this is your only chance to get through and actually peel the stickers. So you might want to do that. Might be a good idea. A little bit handy. So I'm going to get these all peeled off. I'll get them stuck on the corrugation, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we have our top U-channel on the top of our corrugated plastic, so that's there. What we need to do is we need to make sure that this is sealed nice and tight. So we're going to put fasteners at least every 12 to 16 inches. Not going to measure, just going to kind of eyeball it at this point, just to make sure that it's drawn in nice and tight. I've gone ahead and squared up one end. I'm going to go to the other. Just like most structures, it's not 100% in square, so there might be some gaps. But as long as we're trying to maintain a decent spacing here, and we have enough space for our wiggle wire, for our poly sheeting that goes up top, we should be just fine. So I'm going to put a few of these screws in, and then we'll keep going. Now I'm making sure that I'm pushing the bottom in with my foot so that it's nice and secure. And then with this rubber gasketed washer here, you want to make sure that it's snug up against the material, but it is not crushing the material. If it's crushing the material, it's eliminating your insulative properties, and you don't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and put one more here, and then I don't know. I probably should have gone a little higher on the U-channel, but if it means I need to go a couple of them back, no big deal. We got plenty of screws for that. Okay, so we're going to add some screws in here, making sure that we're trying to catch that U-channel. So it might be just into the top of that. We're going to cinch it up nice and tight so that rubber gasketed washer seats real well. And then we'll go all the way across. And I don't like how that's grabbing. All right, so we're sealed up top. We're going to go ahead and seal it down below. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we've got to seal up our seam that's in between these two sheets of corrugated plastic. So I'm going to use some 1/2 inch by 1/8 inch aluminum strap. Okay, so I'm going to use some 1/2 inch by 1/8 inch aluminum strap and a portion that's a little bit more than an inch wide that I cut off the end of our sheets. And I'm going to have this on the outside, this on the inside, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see if it works. Okay, it's almost from a distance you can't really see it, but there is a piece of aluminum on the back side. These are a self-tapper. This is about 1 1/4 inch wide with the 1/2 inch by 1/8 inch aluminum on the back side. It is a two-person job. One person does need to be pushing from the outside with the self-tapper. The other one needs to be pushing in with a board or something on the other side. But that does make this one solid piece all the way along. Now it's time to put the ends on. So there you go. There's putting corrugated plastic on the side of the greenhouse. Just a couple of things that you need to do. Again, like always, I'll take some scrap material. We'll go down into the workshop and I'll explain the processes of what I'm doing in a little bit more close up so you can see what's going on. It's really kind of hard to show you up close stuff when you're trying to get things done, and especially now that the wind's kicked up. But anyway, I think I'm going to wrap this video up now. I thank you for hanging out with us. I hope you learned something. I hope you subscribe. I hope you enjoyed. Ag Teacher Thoughts out.